Hello, welcome once again to the Powerhouse Woman Show. We're all about having those important conversations with amazing powerhouse woman guests. It's about coming up with ideas to help you not only be heard, understood, but also to have a step or two that you can incorporate right now to get you closer to what you want. Coming up on the show today, so excited. So excited. We have the amazing, the one and the only Dr. Casey Lacey. She's a psychologist, a keynote speaker. She is an author and an executive coach, and we're going to talk about confidence, and in particular, Your Confidence Comeback. That's the title of her book. Isn't that a great title? Also, what does it mean to have trust as a leader, as someone who's putting herself out there? Trust is important and some key things to keep in mind. So we'll talk to Dr. Lacey about all of that coming up. We'll also talk about what it means to ask yourself the question, what is it that I want now? What is it that I want? So that can be such a tricky question or a question that kind of throws you for a loop. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I sat down with Dr. Casey Lacey to talk about what it means to have confidence, what erodes our confidence, especially as women, and what we can do about it. Because again, it's very important. So here's my conversation with Dr. Casey Lacey. Dr. Casey Lacey, welcome back to the Powerhouse Woman Show.
Oh, it's so wonderful to be back and to see your amazing, beautiful, smiling face. It's just good to see you again.
Well, to quote you, who's quoting someone else, says the last time we met, you have been booked, busy, and blessed. So, where do we start to unpack all that? So, tell us what you've been up to, especially as it relates to what you're keying in on now for Powerhouse Women and the exciting news that your book has been released.
Yes, this last year has been booked, busy, and blessed in so many different ways, whether that's through my keynotes, working with women in terms of individual coaching, and then my book launch. But for me, it's really been it's my second year in business since leaving the corporate world. And so just going hard in on really being intentional about growing my business, serving my clients in a way that really meets their needs. And so I've done a lot around confidence, but really my shift this year has also been more into trust, because trust is confidence, self-trust is confidence, but there's also this component of trust in leadership. And so that's where I see myself kind of going this next year, but it's been amazing just serving people in various ways.
I want to talk a little bit about the shift, the pivot, the whatever. And so many powerhouse women have found themselves out the door, not necessarily because they wanted to. They're either working in higher ed or they were working for the government, but they're on the other side and having to navigate and maneuver that. What are some of the areas that, especially women who are still feeling stuck, still feeling aggravated and angry about what has happened? What can they expect to go through as they figure out their next?
Yeah, that's such a beautiful question and really hits home with some of the clients I've been working with and my own personal journey for sure. Leaving a toxic work environment, I was in higher ed, and not that all higher ed is, but my experience was definitely lacking in terms of psychological safety. And so I made the decision to leave. And it was hard because it was such a part of my identity. So I think for the women that are there, I described my relationship with work. It was like an abusive relationship, and I stayed for the kids. The kids were my students, my staff, a little bit of my identity. I never thought that I was going to pivot or shift. I had bought in. This was part of what my future was going to be. And so it was a lot of questioning. Am I making the right decision? Can this get better? Oh, maybe explain away this behavior, but sometimes also gaslighting myself of like, oh, well, maybe if you would have talked this way, or maybe you try this, or maybe if you're a certain way, then it'll get better. But once I made that decision, and really for myself, it was a lot of healing. It is a healing journey. It's a grieving journey because you're going through all of those phases of denial and shock, and bargaining and anger. I mean, I definitely had those phases too. But now being on this other side, and I did some good therapy. I'm going to give shout outs to my therapist. Like, that was part of it, is really healing for me some of the trauma that I experienced in the workplace for many, many years. And because I had kind of grown up in a toxic environment, family life, and then work environment, I was always in fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. And so I had to get back in touch with my body and realize, like, calming my central nervous system, taking care of my body in a different way. And I always tell the story that literally since leaving, I lost 90 pounds because I was pouring so much into work. I was not caring for myself. And y'all, I love a good massage and bubble bath, but like truly caring for yourself is on a deeper level. And it's like that voice that had been quieted for so long. I had to listen to her again. I had to find her again. And then I had to take care of her. And then now I'm in this phase of like, I'm just unapologetically her. And that's like a fun phase to be. But there's a lot in those moments when people are there and they feel stuck. My heart goes out to you in so many ways. And I have clients that are going through it and it's so hard. But I also know that it was part of my journey. And I can look back at it now and I'm kind of grateful. And I don't want to like be that, here's the silver lining. But for me, I'm in the healed phase. I can see the silver lining of what I experienced because now it has really shaped what I do now. I can help women in those spaces and I can really pour into my keynotes and workshops and trainings to make sure that work environments are healthy, thriving, and have that trust component.
For women who are powerhouse women and are still powerhouse women, regardless if they were shown the door or they grabbed the knob themselves and walked through the door, what are you seeing, Dr. Lacey, as far as where women are today? And this is a general question, but of course, everybody's different, as embracing the season of asking themselves and acting upon what is it that I want now?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I don't know. I feel like there's this like larger awakening of women in some ways. I also think for myself, I think it was like I hit my 40s and I just stopped caring in some ways too. So there's like that component where you get there, you're like, okay, I'm no longer people pleasing. I'm letting go of perfectionism. I think we have these questions that we ask ourselves and realize what is no longer serving me. And for so long in the workplace, I thought, oh, I'll just work hard. I'll keep my head down. I'll behave a certain way and they'll reward me and they'll notice. And that did not work for me. Like I had to realize this narrative and socialization that I had been a part of, or, I don't want to say victim to, because I'm not, don't embrace the victim mentality. But for me, it wasn't working and I had to shift. And so I think women were really embracing this idea of confidence, and confidence doesn't mean loud. It doesn't mean like in the stereotypical way that we think for men, but confidence, this is the inner self-trust in myself, speaking up when I want to, trusting what I have to say, knowing I have value. Like those are the pieces that I'm seeing women just do. And we're like unapologetically, we're not going to stay stuck. We're not going to silence ourselves and stay in those old behaviors or patterns that were no longer serving us.
Right. And again, it's going to feel new, uncertain, shaky, wobbly knees, whatever, as you stand and move into it. But if you've built all this stuff for somebody else, some institution, you can build what you want for yourself the way you want it to suit where you are right now.
Absolutely. And I think as women, there's this piece where we're sometimes so busy and we're a little bit in hustle culture and we're other focused that we don't take the time to slow down and realize and celebrate ourselves, acknowledge our accomplishments and our strengths. And like you said, you've done it for somebody else. You can do it for yourself. And we have such strength. I have women that are like, I'm not good at negotiating. I'm like, that's not true. Like you've told yourself this narrative, but you literally negotiated with your toddler to like put their pants on today, or negotiated with a restaurant or whatever. It's just, we kind of put ourselves sometimes in these boxes of things we can't do. And most things are figure outable. I was absolutely terrified to leave higher ed and to start my own business. I had no idea what I was doing, but I know there are people out there that have done it before me. And so figuring that out, joining a mastermind, meeting amazing women like you, like people that are just a couple steps ahead of you, utilizing your network. And women, we don't leverage our networks in the same way that men do. And so finding people who are your like purpose people, who are going to hype you up, your hype women, all of those people, those are the people that we need in those moments where we kind of doubt ourselves. But it is scary, very scary.
Wow, purpose people. I love that. I love that. So we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Casey Lacey. She's a psychologist, an author, keynote speaker, executive coach. She's sharing her journey as well. I guess if I were to ask, just have a random poll about your confidence level, that would vary a lot. In some situations, you're very confident, perhaps, others not so much. But I know the time has come for us to start totally with one voice reject what we have been told, what we have been modeling as it relates to confidence. It is a time as such as this for us to stand firm and say, look, this is going to be who I am, and that's the way it is. So let's talk about the book that Dr. Casey Lacey has released. And it's such a powerful book. So I'm going to continue my conversation that I had with her earlier. You have been booked, busy, and blessed, and you have released an amazing book. Yeah, I'm going to get my copy and I'm going to read it. It's Your Confidence Come Back, The Psychology of Claiming Your Power, Voice, and Leadership. That's a mouthful, but it sums it up so beautifully. Why were you led to write a book? And I know you researched it because that's what you do. You're a psychologist that deals with the confidence comeback. So did confidence take a hike, take a sabbatical, and it's now its comeback tour?
Yes. I mean, a lot of it was truly my own personal journey, the journey of my clients. And the reason I wrote the book is I would go speak and people were like, where's your book? Where's your book? And I'm like, okay, I want to do this. But I think it was truly one of those dreams that was always on my heart. And the reason I do what I do is because I have two daughters. So they're 8 and 3, soon to be 9 and 4. One has a birthday literally this Friday. But I wanted them to see confident women, and I wanted them to be in organizations or in jobs where they support confident women. And so for myself, writing the book, it was definitely a journey. And of course, I'm a researcher. And so I wanted to look at all the research, the psychology, understand the socializations, what are the different aspects, gender differences, societal differences, power differences, cultural differences related to confidence. But I also wanted women to have a practical book where these are actual tools that you can do. Because sure, it's great. Like, oh yeah, be more confident. Like we hear that. Okay, what does that even mean? Okay, how do I actually get that confidence? How do I sustain that confidence? That's really what the book is about, is actually giving you strategies so you can work on it, because confidence is a skill. And do I feel confident every single day of my life? No. But that's also why, I have my clients and I keep a brag book. Like, here's the little accomplishments of the day. Y'all, I showered today. Like, that's a win, or especially as a mom, like if you got uninterrupted time. And so looking back, whether it was like I got my PhD at 26 or I wrote a book or whatever it is, I can look back at those moments when my confidence is low and realize, because my brain is always kind of in this negative space. It's trying to keep us safe. And so having these other moments, that's what the book is about, is giving women strategies so they're not just stuck in these negative spaces. They can see this other side and they can own their confidence in a way that feels authentic to them.
How does one deal with, maneuver through, or ignore when those who see this confidence, whether it's something new, something bolder, something whatever, and may not understand it or appreciate it or accept it, and there are comments and there is some issues there as well? What do you recommend that they do?
Yeah, this is a complex issue for sure. I will say, I usually talk about the fact that I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And I've learned that at the end of the day, I don't like everybody and not everybody's going to like me. True. But I also say that for those that have good taste and no, I'm a glass of champagne. I'm not their cup of tea, but for the ones that matter, I'm a glass of champagne. Now, I will say it gets complex in the workplace. So I actually, in the book, I talk about kind of this diagram and talk about the concept of psychological safety. So this is really a workplace culture issue, because you have the individual confidence and then you have the environmental factors of, does this environment support? Can I show up, be myself, disagree, make a mistake without fear of retaliation or retribution? Now, a lot of workplaces don't necessarily have that. And so again, my goal is to help cultivate that. But some of those environments that lack that are not necessarily going to support confident women. Sometimes confident women in particular were labeled all kinds of things, bossy, the B word. There's so many, angry. Yeah. And so there's all these labels. But at the end of the day, it's for myself. I kind of got to this place where it's like, I have to be myself, because quieting myself, silencing myself, and not being my confident self was hurting me. It whether that's physical or mental health, but it was also hurting my career, to be honest, because I would talk about my accomplishments and I would say, we did this, when really it was something I did. Or I wouldn't speak up in a meeting because I thought what I had to say wasn't of value. or I wouldn't sit at the table, or how I physically present myself. Those are other confidence factors. And so I just decided that at the end of the day, if you don't like that I'm confident, that's on you. And I actually did have a leader once tell me, I like you're confident, but, and I was like, no, you don't. Like the second I heard the word but, I was like, no, you don't. I intimidate you. I make you uncomfortable, but it is not my job to take care of your feelings in that way. So.
Right. Especially when they're fleeting and they change every other week. Yes. Where can people learn how to work with you, or buy the book, or learn more about how you've been booked, blessed, and busy this past year or so?
Yes, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you can find Dr. Casey Lacey. So Kasi, my parents had to spell it different, Lacey. And then also CaseyLacey.com. So KasiLacey.com. You can find stuff on there, book a call with me, message me. I love to get messages from people learning about their journeys, what impacted them, how I can support them. Or if you're an organization that you're like, we need her to come in and speak, please book a call, because I love doing keynotes and talking about trust and leadership and pouring into your respective organizations, associations, etc.
Wow, that was a lot. What do you think, Powerhouse Women? What did you hear? What resonated with you? Or maybe you're not everybody's tea. Maybe you're a little bit of cognac, maybe a little bit of champagne. I don't drink, so I'm just saying things. Where are you with that as well? And one of the things that I heard this, Gail King was talking about a conversation that Oprah had with a guest on her show one time. And the guest even wanted to know, well, Oprah, what makes you so successful? And she says, because I know what it is I want. That's an awful Oprah impersonation. Okay, don't write me, I know. And that stuck with me. How many times does that come up? Whether you're thinking it, whether someone asked the question. I had someone recently ask the question, and I have to admit, I paused just a little bit there when the question was, what is it that you want, Monica? My old default setting is all these other things that I've done, but like, what is it that I want now? So let's work through that question. If you're the one who's going to pause when presented with the question, what are 2 or 3 things that you can think about and work through as you come up with an answer that may change down the road? But for right now, what is it that you want? Sit with that question. Number 1, sit with that question. If you're journaling, fine. If you're doodling, fine. If you're thinking and gazing out into the stars, fine. But ask yourself, in this moment, in this season of my life, what is it that I want? Sit with that question. Ask yourself, when you're sitting with the question, what is the narrative that I've been telling? What's the story that I've been telling myself? And is there a new story that I want to tell? And oh, Cynthia, hello, Cynthia. It works. Knowing what you want is foundational and helps me with intentions. Absolutely. So sit with that question. Don't rush it. Don't rush it. You don't have, it's not a pop quiz. You don't have to necessarily, write me tomorrow and say, got it. Sit with it. It'll always be there waiting for you to give it the attention. So you give it the attention that it needs. And what's part of the story you've been telling? Do you want to tell a new story? It's okay to live out a new story. That is absolutely fine. So sit with the question. Number 2, don't judge what comes up, because immediate reaction is, yeah, that's what I want. The next thought is, well, I'm 40. I'm 50. I'm 25. I'm 75. It just won't happen. Don't judge. In this phase, it's an exploratory phase where you're asking yourself these questions and listening for the responses. So don't judge what comes up, because you don't know all hows and the wheres, but you need to be able to look at all of the possibilities. So that's an exploratory phase. And the third part, sit with the question, don't judge the answers or what comes up, and take one step. One step. And it could be the next best step if you've been working on it. What is that step? And you can plan, of course. You can get some support, of course. You can get some perspective. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you have that clarity, if you have that idea, now it's time for the commitment. Now it's time for the action. What's the action? Oh, hello there. Hello, Sister Beulah. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And thank you for joining us on the Powerhouse Woman Show this day. I mentioned that it may be time for a new story. It may be time for you to finally tell your story. It may be the story that needs to be told, not just for you, but the people in your community, in your circle, in your life. And I love helping people with this story. So I'm going to invite you to find out more and find out about my upcoming program. This is going to be our fifth season next year, our fifth year. And it's called StoryMakerAcademy.com. Thanks for being with us today. I know you've probably heard something just beating in your spirit, beating in your heart. And don't forget, if you're so inclined, to get Dr. Casey Lacey's book, Your Confidence Comeback. In fact, I have ordered mine and it's on the way. So have a great day. And thank you so much for joining us. Do me a favor. Please feel free to subscribe and leave a comment. It really works. I used to be like, nobody wants to be bothered with that. But it's true. It helps people find us because we're doing a mighty big work here, talking to powerhouse women who are not going to submit to this notion and nonsense that we have to be a certain way, that we cannot be confident, we cannot take up the space that we were endowed with by the ultimate gift giver to live our lives on this term. So please, if you have a moment and you're so inclined, don't forget to like us. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll talk to you next time on the Powerhouse Woman Show.